Hello, Maria Vladimirovna, Nata Osmanli, Baku TV. I would also like to express on behalf of myself and our editorial staff our condolences on the horrible terrorist attack on March 22nd. My question about French Prime Minister Attal, who once again made accusations against Russia of wanting to punish Armenia for joining the ICC, also for, according to his words, approving Azerbaijan's actions during the anti-terrorist measures in Karabakh in the autumn of 2023, and criticized the Russian peacekeepers. The French side's outbursts have become more frequent. They have become sharper.
I would distinguish between aggressive outbursts and wet dreams. What you said is the second category.
Nevertheless, they are talking about this topic more and more often. They have focused their attention on our region, and in general, given the general provocative background and the terrorist threat in particular, how far, in your opinion, can the French go in their attempts to destabilize the situation in the South Caucasus? And what will be the reaction in this case?
The very case is that in no case can one extrapolate. That is, one cannot endow the French with the qualities that are evident in the French leadership, the political leadership. I can assure you of that. And we can see this even in the reaction of French citizens to the anti-Russian statements that Macron allows himself. And they are constantly different. You see these statements by Macron, sometimes directly contradicting each other. We get reactions from French citizens and from people who have something to do. These are people who have achieved a lot in their work, in their labor, in their fields. They say they are ashamed to hear what their leadership is saying, you know? That's why there's always the temptation to call the whole nation some kind of epithets because of the actions. Macron in particular, but this is not the case. I think it is the same in the context of the situation in the South Caucasus. All the statements made by France on behalf of the leadership of this country are not even brought to the attention of not only the people for their approval or disapproval, but even to the French parliamentarians. Nobody asks them there either. I just want to say that it is naive to believe that France is ready or able to ensure the security of the South Caucasus. If France had such capabilities, this state would have applied them in those countries where Paris had contractual obligations. We have talked about this repeatedly. Moreover, it would have been easier for them to do it there, given that they had been there for decades, considering these countries as their colonies. And even in the post-colonial period, they still retained their interests there, so to speak, at the level of neo-colonialism. The language is more familiar there, so to speak, and contacts and ties remained. But something did not work out. France was obliged to do it on the African continent because, I'm sorry, it was getting paid for it. Its work, its presence there was lavishly paid for. French missions in these countries failed miserably, not because of political inconsistency, but because France abandoned its allies and partners, in whose countries its contingents were stationed not out of friendship or love, but because of the Republic's profit. Do you understand? And they failed miserably. France abandoned them. It abandoned them at the most critical moment for these countries, and they urgently began to look for a replacement for the French presence necessary to ensure their existential security issues. I don't like, as you know, these cross-questions. When representatives of one country regularly ask questions about another country, but I am talking now more about the situation in the South Caucasus as a whole and the situation in the South Caucasus. The future of the whole South Caucasus. And now we take Armenia, Azerbaijan, and neighboring countries because you can draw borders on a contour map, but it is difficult to draw them in the economic and humanitarian spheres. So let's take the South Caucasus in a broad sense, so its future is just a tool for Paris. It is just a bargaining chip, one of the ways to maintain its own well-being and preserve its reputation, including against the background of hybrid war with Russia and failures on the African continent. France's presence in the South Caucasus region is an attempt to collect intelligence information, to monitor the states of the region, to prevent the realization of the peace agreements that have been reached between our countries, including those of economic nature. How can it be so, against the background of failures in the economy of the European Union, prosperity is possible here in the South Caucasus? How can we not do harm here, so to speak, under the guise of rendering assistance? This is classic Western ideology. By the way, no one is even hiding all this. If the true goal was peace and security, France would do everything to ensure that the agreements that have been reached since the year 2021 between Azerbaijan and Armenia through Russian mediation are realized. But, as you can see, they have taken the opposite course.